Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Michelson, and I am so excited to be speaking with Dani Williamson today. Dani is a functional nurse practitioner and the owner of Integrative Family Medicine in Franklin, Tennessee. In her clinic, she focuses on gut, autoimmune thyroid, hormone, and adrenal health with her patients. Her approach embodies a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual process to healing. Her first book, Wild and Well, Dani's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing, is being released in just a few weeks on November 9th. Dani, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
It's so good to see you again, Julie.
Yes, lucky for me, it feels like just a few days ago. I got to see you in person.
It was. Twice in 1 week. Can't beat that.
No. So I want to start with where I often do. Most of us come to this world through our own health journey. I know you spent 24 years struggling with various and numerous chronic illnesses. So what was the turning point for you for healing your body from within?
Well, the 24 years of chronic disease started from 18 years of living in a shithole of chaos in my house. I mean, it's as simple as that. And my grandfather had died by suicide. My mother attempted suicide multiple times. I had chronic stress from chronic stress, yes, chronic diarrhea from all the stress in the house, and 2 different stepfathers and lots of trauma. First colonoscopy at age 20. And, from 18 to 35, I got married, and I had been diagnosed with lupus. I had chronic itching, and I was functioning, Julie. I mean, I was doing my job. I had 2 kids, and I was in a hard marriage, and I was suicidal. And I remember the morning, straight up the morning, I was going to end it all and drive off the foot of Broadway in Paducah, Kentucky, into the Ohio River right there at the foot of Broadway. And there was nothing anyone could do. And thank goodness, by the grace of God, my kids came running in the room that morning. They were like, I don't know, 3 and 4 or something, and jumping on the bed, mama, and we're hungry. And literally, Julie, I looked in their eyes and it was instant. I was no way I was going to leave those kids with my husband at the time, Greg. And I got up and I fed them breakfast, and probably horrible. Who knows back then?
Right.
They probably got Captain Crunch and milk from Walmart for all I know.
But we won't go there.
A year later, I'm a single mom, 2 kids, little kids, 5 and 6 then. I'm on food stamps and a medical card. And I thought, well, I'm going to apply to nursing school. I have a graduate degree in fashion design. I owned a maternity store in Paducah. So I applied to nursing school. I'm standing on the front porch one day. I get 2 letters in the mail. One said, congratulations, you're going to Vanderbilt School of Nursing, nurse practitioner program or whatever. And the next one said something like, congratulations, or you qualify for $56 more in food stamps this month. For you and your kids, for Ella and Jackson and Danny. And I was like, holy cow. So I packed up and I moved to nursing school in Nashville. And 3.5 years later, I've still got all the symptoms, right? I still all the chronic stuff going on. I probably was on antidepressants. I can't remember. 24 years later, my first job out of nurse practitioner school, my second job, actually, the doc looked at me and said, Dani, what are you eating don't you know your diet controls your symptoms? And it turned my entire world around. I was like, what? I had just spent $200,000 in an education at Vandy. Not one time did they tell my class of 300 and something nurse practitioners, there's a root cause for your patient's depression or lupus or heartburn or migraine headaches. Figure it out. So from that day forward, I did food sensitivity testing on me and started some probiotics, and I started decreasing the inflammation in my body. And it literally turned the entire trajectory around for my life and my patients' lives. So that's what I do. And I mean, and I am living proof that whatever you turn on, whatever chronic lifestyle disease that you turn on, you can turn off or at least dial it back greatly by controlling what's at the end of your fork. That's not only it. Of course, you have to sleep well and move well and poop well and all that. But by changing my diet and decreasing that inflammatory response, turned everything around for me. And I'm pissed off through the years that I wasn't told this by the 4 gastroenterologists that did colonoscopies on me.
Oh, it is so, say it's frustrating is ridiculous. And I went through that period of anger of, I spent 11 years declining with rheumatoid arthritis, being told over and over again, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing, doesn't matter what. I even would read something and go to the rheumatologist and say, what about this? No, nothing you can do. You have rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes. Okay. So you just led me into something I forgot. My rheumatologist, when I was diagnosed with lupus by my obstetrician, I went to the best one there was at Vandy, supposedly, right? We drove from Paducah to Vanderbilt. She walks in that room. She looks me square in the eye and she said, Danielle, there is no cure for lupus. It kills women every year. What? And she said, here's your pain medicine. Here's your anti-inflammatories. She put me on Celebrex, Vioxx, whichever one was taken off the market for killing people, sudden cardiac death. I can't remember. I was on it for a couple of days. I didn't like it. Thank goodness. That's what she said. And then she said, this will hurt your kidneys and your liver. So we need to check your liver and kidneys every 6 months. And I didn't know any better. I was 35 years old.
6 months. Yes. That's like nothing. I had to go in every 6 weeks because the stuff I was on was so toxic. And same thing. I was 34 years old and literally she said, oh, we're so sorry. You're so young. We'll keep you as comfortable as we can for as long as we can.
It's maddening to me. And actually, I saw a new patient probably 2 months ago, and her rheumatologist was this doctor. I didn't know she was still practicing at Vandy. I said, what did she tell you? Because what was it that I guess it's rheumatoid arthritis she has. And she said, well, she told me there was nothing we could do. And I said, really? Well, let me tell you what she told me. With her hand on the door, that proof that you can turn this around. It's not easy. It's not fast. But once you start feeling better and you start to decrease that inflammatory response in your body, you don't want to go back. I'm never going back to where I was 11 years ago at 44. I feel better at 55 than I did in my 30s and mid 40s. I will never go back there. Ever.
As do I at 52. It is.
I will preach it from the mountaintops until the day I die. And that's what we do in the office is we turn people's lives around by decreasing inflammation and healing their gut. And, but you and I mean, I'm only as good. You're only as good as what your patients or your clients do. I can teach it all day, but if they go home and decide to drive through, Krispy Kreme and get a couple of, or a dozen donut holes, and then go to Chick-fil-A for dinner that night, then there you go, whatever. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I couldn't tell you last time I went through Chick-fil-A, but it's not rocket science, which is what I was talking about in the book. 6 common sense steps to radical healing. We complicate this so much. And we can't do that. And I think as healthcare providers, many times we speak in this language that patients don't understand, and they don't want to understand. They don't care about the neural pathways in their brain, and their dopamine is on fire and their glutamate's out of whack and their GABA's in the shitter. I mean, they don't care. They just want to know, what can I do to feel better?
Right. And in a way that's not overwhelming. Let's talk about the book. So your book is coming out in November
the 9th.
Wild and Well, Dani's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing. So I would love to hone in on, it is, once you lift that veil of ignorance, for lack of a better word, or misinformation, it really is common sense. It does come back to, this is how we got here. This is how we get well. So let's talk about some of those steps.
You cut out on me there. You froze your screen.
Yeah, but a little technical difficulty. Let's talk about some of the 6 common sense steps in real speak, as you say.
Okay. So eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, decrease stress, and cultivate community. Those are the 6 steps that I've worked with for 11 years. And I start with eat well because it's the most complicated, yet the most easy one as well. What's at the end of your fork, right, will heal you or kill you. Hands down, simple as that. So you've got to make sure that for me, I think knowing your food sensitivities or what's creating the inflammatory response in your body is very important. Not everyone can do that. So I have them cut out the top 7 inflammatory foods in the country: gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, eggs, peanuts, and their face goes blank. Whoa, what am I going to eat? Because that's all I eat. Well, you're going to eat all the fresh, 1 ingredient, God-made food you can stand. Fish, chicken, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, oil, lamb, turkey. I mean, go buy a turnip, learn what it's like. We eat the same foods over and over, and our body likes diversity. God made hundreds upon hundreds of foods. We feed our kids about 5 or 6 meals their entire life. We only eat probably less than 20 foods ourselves. So we start with diversity, and I go through, go to your farmer's market, eat in season. You're only as good as what your animal ate. Maybe you can buy a cow that's grass fed, and put that in your freezer. For sure, we should have done that now. Apparently, I have a cow in my freezer, but prices are going through the roof. Yes, I got one last summer, and not even knowing all this was going to go crazy. But the diet is key. And for me, it's 1 ingredient. I'm a huge fan of a Mediterranean lifestyle. Now, I know people love a carnivore diet or a keto or paleo or Whole30, and that's fine. But I know that the bulk of the world eats a Mediterranean lifestyle, and the American Heart Association recommends, which is fresh food, more vegetables than not, and some fruit, and then some meat or fish or chicken, and oils. I just think you don't have to complicate it. People ask me, what kind of life, what diet do you eat? I don't eat a diet. I just eat good food. And so I think that's key. And then you have to sleep well, because your body heals when you sleep. If you can't sleep, you can't heal. And doing one or the other in it, then get out of it. No phones in there, no computers, no wireless routers in there, no TVs in there. All of that is creating horrific electromagnetic fields spiraling around you. You can't get away from the EMFs during the day. We're sitting in front of a computer right now. We've got lights. We have a ring light in front of us. We got all these EMFs everywhere. But at night, your bedroom has got to be a sanctuary. When you cross that threshold into your bedroom, it needs to be clean. It needs to be uncluttered. It needs to be safe. You don't need to be sleeping on an electric bed that is shooting wild EMFs all through your body and brain. Unplug it. If you have a sleep number, set it where you need it and unplug it. So sleeping is key, but then you've got your sleep hygiene as well that everyone knows about. And magnesium, maybe you need some magnesium to help you sleep. Magnesium is a smooth muscle relaxer, and it just helps you sleep and poop and time tea. Sleeping well is key. Whatever your routine looks like, we need to get you sleeping. Earlier to bed, the better. If you can ground and earth and put your feet on the earth at night and your face to the setting sun, that's going to help you sleep. Also the same in the morning. A good morning is going to set you up for a good evening. Or I'm a big fan of grounding. Eat well, sleep well, move well. You got to move your body. We were given these bodies to move. When you stop moving, you stop moving. That's as simple as that. That's what my friend, Dr. Derek Myers says. He's a chiropractor, and that's a fact. And you don't have to go out and go to CrossFit 5 days a week, whatever works for you. If it's hula hooping, then hula hoop, for crying out loud. That's great for you. If you want to rollerblade or ice skate, I don't care. I just need you to move your body.
I love that you say move and not exercise, because that's exactly what it is. And I'm sure you see it a lot in the office too, especially with autoimmune patients, that they're overdoing it. They're driving their inflammation. So I think of moving well as like, what's that optimal for you? Right. So you're not overdoing it and you're, beating your poor body into the ground, and you're not sitting on your rear end all day either.
Absolutely. Hands down. And whatever it takes, park a little bit further away at the grocery, take the stairs while you're in there making your spaghetti sauce, do 20 push-ups on the countertop. Well, better if you can get down and do 5 on the floor, do a plank, do a down dog, do some squats. I try to squat when I'm brushing my teeth. I don't know if that's great or not. If you're unstable, don't do that with a toothbrush in your mouth, but just move your body. We tend to come home and lay on that couch and we watch, Special Victims Unit. And then we get on to the next one after that. And we watch, New Amsterdam. And before you know it, it's 3 hours and we're on the couch and we've done nothing. Do something. You got to move your body. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well.
Let's talk about poop well.
When you eat well, when you sleep well, when you move well, guess what? You're more likely to poop well. And people who tell me, well, my doctor says it's okay if I poop twice a week. I've always pooped twice a week. That's not normal. That's maybe your normal, but it's not normal. We are designed to eliminate whatever we eat today should be gone tomorrow. A dog, if you poop like your dog, you are in good shape. A dog eats and they go and poop not much longer. And then they're thrilled about it. They scratch around and fly back in the door. I have a dog door in 12 we call Poopy, a poopy puppy, a poopy puppy.
Well, and I have one of my pups he's 8 pounds. And literally when you lift him up, you can tell if he hasn't pooped yet. I can tell. And I'm like, oh, he needs to go out. He's got too much in there. It's got to go. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if you've ever done a poop study, a stool study, we do a 3-day study at the office. And if you have to poop and scoop for 3 days, you have no idea how heavy your poop is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's unbelievable. So pooping well, most people are dehydrated. All my water's gone here in this glass, right? And most people are dehydrated. I'm 130 pounds. I need a minimum of 65 ounces of water a day. If I get in my sauna, I need way more water. If I drink coffee, I need more water. People don't realize how chronically dehydrated they would feel better just hydrating, and your skin would look better and you're going to poop. But again, you can't poop well unless you were like me and I ate fast food growing up and I would have diarrhea.
But
that's totally opposite.
Well.
No, that's not pooping well. So you have to eat fresh, clean, good, as healthy as you can food. You've got to move and sleep. Again, it all works together. And then guess what? De-stress well. This book's coming out and I'm stressed to the hilt, right? And, I was in a bad marriage forever. I was, not forever, 11 years seemed like tremendous amount of stress with 2 abusive stepfathers. And That kind of stress almost killed me. Of course, that's adverse childhood experience stress, but stress will kill you. It lowers your immune system. Your white blood cells burst in every direction, and it increases the inflammation in your body. Nobody has told you have to stay in that bad other job. And I did that. I did that 7 years ago. I started my own business. Not everybody has to do that. You also don't have to stay in an abusive marriage. And so you don't have to keep the people in your life that are sucking the life out of you, the soul suckers. You have the right to set boundaries. You also have the right to say no to things. Nothing gets on your schedule unless you say yes to it. So you have the right to say, no, Julie, I can't do that podcast. I am overwhelmed. And I think when we give ourselves permission to know that, oh, you don't have to be the room mother to the 3rd grade class. Who cares? That kid's still going to go to 4th grade, whether you're the room mother or not. Or you don't have to tolerate that friend that is constantly dragging you down.
Yeah.
You can wean those people out of your life. And when you start to decrease the stress, and we all have a certain amount of stress. Stress is good for you. Stress.
Sure.
Also keeps your cortisol going, but chronic long-term stress will destroy your health.
Yes, absolutely.
And we are in power. We are in charge of so much of that. But yet as women, you see this as a coach, this, we pile it on and then we get angry about it. And then it starts to destroy our health when we have the power all along to cut the ties.
We do. And it takes, that first, like you said, that first step is permission. And then it's reprogramming and training. And I actually have recently been noticing this with my male clients. I used to think of the inability to say no as a particularly female trait or problem or condition. And while I do think there's definitely more of, we are trained to say yes and behave right and do, and mothers, put themselves last and all of that. I'm seeing with my male clients, just like right now in the past month, I'm talking men in their 50s and 60s who do not know how to say no.
They can't something.
Even in business, there is, like you said, with the podcast, they're saying yes to business they can't handle. It's too much.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have the right, when I got so overscheduled at the office, we were booked out for 15 months, probably 3 years ago, 15 months. I made the call to close the practice to new patients, not close the practice, but close the practice. That was the hardest decision. We did a announcement we did a video, made a video and announced it on Facebook. And that was horrifying to me because, what we do for a living, we want to help everyone, but my health was going to take a huge hit if I continued to try to keep up with it. I couldn't do it. And we closed to new patients for probably a year and a half. And we are booked up now. So I have some more decisions to make coming up soon. I don't know what's going to happen, but that's on me. I have the right to say, I can't do this. I cannot help you be your best if I am this stressed out over this going on back here in my life. So de-stress well is my 5th step, and then commune well. Cultivate community. It's key. It's really incredible. The more I studied about community, for that last chapter in the book is on cultivating community, I learned, I already knew this part, but we are not designed to live in isolation. We're pack creatures, right? We want to be with family and friends. And what happened to us the last year and a half, social isolation. What is that? social isolating. That doesn't even go together.
No.
And we cannot do that. And we cannot thrive, and we cannot, you're barely surviving. And many people didn't. Suicide rates went through the roof this last year and a half. I sit on the board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is near and dear to my heart. I mean, my mom has attempted multiple times. I know what it's like to want to die. And then my grandfather did die by suicide. I lost a patient last month to suicide, and I never saw it coming. And this is my world, is suicide prevention. Community is key. It's key. Yes. And you don't need a ton of community. You don't need 100 people in your circle. It only takes 1 or 2 big roots to hold up a beautiful oak tree, so I'm a big believer in cultivating. I started a neighborhood cookout last year during COVID, and we would cook out every Saturday in our front yards. And it eventually ended up morphing all into my yard as we got closer and more comfortable and got to know each other. I now don't have a neighborhood. I have a true community, and we all knew each other and we all loved each other, but we didn't know each other. And now we know. And I stood up at one of our neighbors got married, and I started the wedding off talking about community. They asked me to. And so cultivating community is huge. You heal when you have community. And guess what? You eat better when you have community. You sleep better when you've laughed with community. You move better when you have community. You poop better. Your stress is better when you have your tribe. It's not rocket science. And so again, that's what I do. And I try to work it all together with patients and let them know that none of those balls are ever equally in the air at the same time. Sometimes you're eating better than you are, sleeping better, or so it's all about balance, and it's about homeostasis. Your body wants to right ship. I am proof of that. It doesn't take much. You are living proof of that.
Yes.
You were not born broken. And I tell you what, when you turn something on, your body wants you to turn it off. And we don't listen to those little red flags, that joint pain that pops up, right? That insomnia that may happen for a while, that itching that you're having, that slight anxiety that's popping. Those are red flags that your body is screaming at you to do something.
And it will get louder and louder unless you start listening. Those symptoms are information, communication.
They are information, inflammation, red flags, the whole thing. And we don't pay attention. And in traditional allopathic medicine, the way I was trained, we treat the symptoms.
Yeah.
Right. We treat the symptoms. The Nexium doesn't cure a disease. It treats a symptom of heartburn. It treats heartburn, which is a symptom of something else. And so when we go back upstream and look and say, what happened? When did I feel the best in my life? When did I really feel like I was on my A game? And some people say, Dani, I never felt like I was on my A game.
Yep.
They had a lot of trauma, or they had a lot of things happening. And so you can turn it around. And just that slight little bit of feeling better, if you have a couple of days of feeling better and not so foggy headed or not so much joint pain when you wake up, you're more inclined then to take it to the next day.
Oh, that's the becomes a self-propel. It's just amazing.
You bet.
We can tell people what to do till we're blue in the face. But once they make that one change where they can feel that needle start to move, there's no holding them back. I mean,
this is why we need coaches. This is why what you do for a living, we do not utilize. In fact, I am at a real crossroads in my practice right now. We sat and had a meeting this week about it. And I could bring another provider in, like a nurse practitioner. I could bring another provider or a doc. I mean, I could bring anybody in I wanted. And I am really leaning towards bringing in coaches, because as providers, I don't have the time to walk you through. Even though I have an hour and a half, I'm not your coach. Right? I'm your healthcare provider, and I'm just trying to keep everybody alive in the practice. Right? I mean, and so I can do a lot in my time with you, but I'm not the follow-up person, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, and what you do literally turns people's lives around. And I hope that I will scream that from the rooftops going forward, the more I've learned about the power of coaching.
Well,
Everybody needs a coach.
My joy is partnering with practitioners, because what I do works, what you do works. And when we put it together, the results are just faster, better. I mean, it's exciting. It's remarkable. It is amazing, even though I know, because I've lived it and I see it day in and day out, the body's ability to heal is phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
I mean, it so wants to be 100%. It unless you're dead, it's never too late.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Actually, I think we put that quote or that in the book. I thought, oh,
I love that.
People may not like that. I think I have it in there. Unless you're dead, it's never too late. In fact, I know I do on one of the call outs. And it's the truth.
Absolutely.
So whatever people are going through, I mean, there is definitely a way around this and through it. You have to go through everything. You can't go around anything.
Sure.
The only way to get there is to go straight through it. And again, it starts with what's at the end of your fork. It starts with you believing also that you are worthy to be 150%. And when we as men and women put our oxygen masks on first,
yes,
we don't do it because I have 2 kids over there that need my attention, or a husband who needs my attention. You put your oxygen mask on because you're worthy to be healthy, happy, and whole. And guess what? When mom is healthy, happy, and whole, guess what else is? The rest of the family.
Absolutely.
You do it for you. And I think we forget that. And it's a trickle down effect. And yeah, I'm a big believer of that. And we as women set the tone for the family. We set the entire tone. When we're sick, when we don't feel well, when we have to go back to bed, after we take the kids to school and we're exhausted, and then we're irritable when the husband comes home or the wife comes home, and we set the tone. Whatever mood we're in is the mood the rest of the family's in.
Absolutely. Dani, you gave us, somebody could listen to this over and over and over again and really, if they hit each of those areas, and then pick up your book and they're done. What would you say one small achievable step listeners could take starting today, as soon as they listen to this, to start to improve their health? I mean, there's so many different places that I'm like, as you're saying it, like, oh yeah, there's her one. Oh no, there's her one step. So what would be one to circle back to?
The first one I would circle, my first instinct was to say the diet, because I know it's key. But so many of your listeners are probably not sleeping. And if you don't sleep, you can't tackle everything else. Because you heal when you sleep. So I would take a big inventory of what's happening to my sleep at night. Do you sleep well? Do you have trouble going to sleep? Do you have trouble staying asleep? The first thing you could do, which is they could watch this and stop, is go clean up the bedroom.
Yep. I love that.
Make it welcoming to sleep. And then maybe take some magnesium or get some sleepy time tea, get the distractions out of the bedroom. And that includes an animal in the bed. I hate to say it now that I got this puppy. I don't have him in the bed, but I know that people don't sleep as well when animals are in the bed. But you also don't sleep well when your husband or your wife are snoring out like crazy and you're up, but if you're snoring. So also you need to look at, do you possibly have sleep apnea?
Yeah. Well, and this goes back to that inventory. I love that. I always say in every area we work on, knowing where your starting point is that's the first step to change. Because most of us are not aware. We just normalize and we deal.
Yes.
And so I love the, clean up the room and see what's really going on. Are you sleeping? Are you staying asleep? If you have a partner in there with you, ask them, am I snoring?
Yes.
Do I snore?
Do you know how many people I have diagnosed? Well, I don't diagnose them with it, but I send them to the sleep lab with sleep apnea. It's unbelievable.
It's remarkable.
I had a pulmonary sleep doctor on my Facebook Live recently, and untreated sleep apnea takes 10 to 20 years off of your lifespan. Yep. Well, I don't snore, and I knew I didn't snore, but I did a home sleep study for my patients just to say I can do this. Well, guess what? I didn't pass that booger very well at all. And so I went into the lab and did a sleep study in the lab, in the sleep center. I have something called REM sleep apnea. So REM sleep is not the deepest sleep, but it's deep sleep. When I get into REM, I lose oxygen. 29 times I lost oxygen.
Wow.
What? And I'm not overweight. I don't snore. I don't have nobody in my family that I'm aware of has sleep apnea. So I actually I'm ordering a CPAP to see. I feel fine, but you feel fine.
But oh my gosh, maybe you could feel even better.
You don't. Exactly.
Yeah. I love it.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. But sleep, I say the one thing is let's take inventory of the bedroom and get you sleeping first. Then you can tackle what's in your kitchen or what you're doing every day. Because if you're fatigued, you can't do it. I mean, you just can't do it.
I love that. That is gold. So before we wrap up, where can listeners find you? And this will be included in the show notes as well.
Well, DaniWilliamson.com, simple as that, has everything on it. It has the book landing page, the countdown till the book comes out, tons of free education, but all of that also on social media, Dani Williamson Wellness, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all the same. I put out tons of free education every day between Instagram and Facebook. And then my Facebook Lives are transferred to YouTube. Your Facebook Live we did, it's on YouTube, hundreds and hundreds. So much free education for people. And then the book is available everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Barnes and Noble, Books A Million. I'm so blessed that they all picked it up, and it's released in November 9th. So we've got a lot of free education and free content out there for anybody who's interested in healing their body, truly healing their body from the inside out.
Dani, thank you so much. This was so incredible. We could do this 10 more times and just still have so much more to talk about. I so appreciate you. For everyone listening, remember you get the show notes and transcripts by visiting inspiredliving.show. I hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did. I will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.